This week, John Granserich from Fortra is with us to discuss the company's new branding and updated mission. Then Alan Radford from One Identity joins us to talk about the overlooked identity security risks of robotic process automation. Finally, in the enterprise security news, we've got 12 funding announcements. 1Password acquires Passage. Layoffs continue with another round at CyberReason. FTC takes action against Drizzly's CEO. Everything you need to know about new U.S. data privacy legislation. Cisco Meraki devices in Russia go pop. Young Silicon Valley workers are in for a shock. Ransomware trends, MFA trends, and U.S. officials say tech companies need to build secure products. All that and lots more on this episode of Enterprise Security Weekly.
This is Security Weekly, for security professionals, by security professionals. Broadcasting live from G-Unit Studios in Rhode Island, it's the show where we talk security vendors and aren't afraid to name names. It's Enterprise Security Weekly.
Don't leave the door open. Secure your APIs with the Curity Identity Server. Curity allows you to centralize identity management policies with a solution developed by an expert team using well-established standards. Curity facilitates scalable security for apps and websites by offering a unique combination of identity and access management with API security. Protect your users, secure apps and websites, manage API access. Start your free trial today at securityweekly.com/Curity. Customers want fast and frictionless digital experiences, yet also expect protection against breaches, privacy violations, and fraud. Drive engagement by optimizing security and convenience to attract and retain customers. Use the PingOne cloud platform to build, test, and optimize digital experiences. The no-code orchestration engine weaves together authentication, user management, and MFA, all of which can enhance security, drive engagement, and boost revenues. Visit securityweekly.com/ping identity to learn more. Welcome to Enterprise Security Weekly and happy National Sandwich Day or World Jellyfish Day. You choose, just don't mix them up. This is episode 295, recorded on Thursday, November 3rd, 2022. I'm your host, Adrian Sanabria, and joining me is the master of marketing, the mayor of mayhem, Tyler Shields. How are you, Tyler?
Oh my gosh, absolutely do not mix those up. I couldn't imagine eating a jellyfish sandwich. That would be absolutely horrible.
Just the texture of it alone, like even if the taste was good, the texture just, yeah, that would be gross.
Oh my gosh, it's like the worst possible kind of sushi.
Peanut butter and jelly fish.
Hey-oh.
Hey-oh. Also joining me is the Czar of Zero Trust, the captain of content, Katie Teitler. How are you, Katie?
A little grossed out, but aside from that, I'm doing just great.
Understandably. I'm a big sandwich guy. Between the two, I'd have to go with the sandwich. I have a whole book just on sandwiches. Like, I think it's all the different kinds of bread and ingredients you can put in there. I just love it.
So what's your favorite sandwich?
It would be hard to pick one, but if I've been doing really good with diet and exercise and stuff like that, and I'm traveling or on vacation, really want to treat myself, and I see a Reuben on the menu, I'm going for that Reuben, and I'm going to enjoy every bite of that Reuben. So it might change on the day you ask me, but Reubens are great.
I would make the argument within reason here. I would make the argument that sandwiches are all about the bread.
Oh yeah, you gotta have good bread.
The right bread, the best bread, like within reason on the meat, right? You can't put garbage meat on it, but assuming similar meat, it's all about the bread.
Yep. Yeah, it makes a huge difference. Certainly. Yeah. All right, moving on from food. I do have an announcements here. You can follow us on Twitter for live stream reminders, highlighted clips, memes, and more. You can find us at @SecWeekly, SEC Weekly. If you go to Security Weekly, that's Paul Asadorian, so you're not far away, but the actual account we use for all the different shows is Sec Weekly. And, the folks behind the scenes have been doing a great job of putting together some really nice looking media announcing the interviews that are coming up and all the stuff we've got going on. A lot of good stuff there. So this interview is sponsored by Fortra, and you might be thinking, Fortra? I've never heard of Fortra. Who's Fortra? Well, I bet you have heard of Fortra, just not by their new name. So today we'll be talking about Fortra's new branding. They were formerly Help Systems, which also gives us an excellent opportunity to talk about the rationale behind their many acquisitions they've done over the past few years. And we're excited to have John Grancerich. Is that right? John Grancerich?
Yes, it is. Perfect.
Yes. EVP of Strategy at Fortra he is with us today, and he's got a long history as a product manager, founder, and has also led and run consulting practices. Welcome, John.
Great to be here. Thanks, everybody, for your time today. Super excited.
Yeah, so you're very centrally involved in, I assume both the choosing of these acquisitions, kind of the grand strategy behind it. I'm a product manager, and I can't imagine moving up to this kind of meta level of not only managing products, but a bunch of acquisitions and figuring out how those are going to meld together and work with each other. It's got to be either really fun or a daunting task, or both.
Yeah, it's both. To be candid, right? I think one of the things that we've seen here. So I should also note, I've been with what was formerly Help Systems for 4.5 years before we relaunched as Fortra this week. And when I got here 4.5 years ago, there were maybe 10,000 customers. There was probably about 500 employees total. The business was, a third or a fourth of what it is today. And it was, actually a really successful business back then, right? So, we're kind of a rarity, I think, in business and technology. This is a company that's been around for 40 years. You just don't really see companies really lasting that long, regardless of where they can just kind of stay in business. But we've actually really been, kind of thriving all this time. But one of the things that we saw as I got here and became part of this team was that the customers that we were serving and the products that we had in automation and things like system administration, and there was really a big focus on the IBM platform up until that point, the demand was changing, right? So to your point about being a product manager, that's one of the things, PMs are always sensitive to. What's the market problem? What's the market need? Where do we go next? And we were absolutely sensing this pull into security from the existing customers who are saying, hey, we need to think about things more holistically. How can you and the team there at the company really begin to think about that and bring that into the portfolio? So that's really what began, I think, the strategic discussion. Now to your other point about, who's working on this, we're really lucky here. We've got a dedicated, team that focuses on M&A. We've got, a great product management team. We've got a big R&D organization. So all these kind of parts work together as sort of a kind of a complete system, if you will. But that was really what pulled us into it was, we were seeing this market demand and this increasingly complex cybersecurity landscape. And we saw an opportunity to really evolve the company from where it was then into what it is today.
So yeah, I remember when Help Systems first started flashing up. First it was Core Security, and then there were a few other acquisitions after that, a few other brands after that. And I remember researching Help Systems and seeing, I think at the time, and maybe still, you were the world's largest developer of iSeries or System I or AS400, however you want to. Whichever brand you grew up with, depending on what generation you're from, of iSeries software in the world outside of IBM. So, it kind of makes me curious: is there a hard line between the IBM stuff and the security stuff? Are there synergies between them? Are those like two separate organizations within Fortra now, or is that now seen as like a legacy business in Fortra? Like, what's the future of the non-security stuff at Fortra?
Yeah, so the IBM I business is incredibly important to us still. I think what's changed over time is really the mix of the business itself and where really what portion of the business is IBM focused versus what I'll call hybrid focus. And so this is where I think kind of contextually and strategically the IBM platform still fits in. When we look at, cybersecurity and we think about, even beyond that, looking at automation and systems administration, we kind of take a step back and you really look at how infrastructure has evolved over the last, let's say, 5 to 10 years. I think a key theme is the evolution of hybrid and how pervasive hybrid architecture is. A significant number of our customers today are running some form of hybrid infrastructure, right? And that's irrespective of, whether it's IBM or Windows or Mac or whatever the operating system or frankly the deployment strategy, right? There's all different sorts. It's really just kind of this ever-evolving mix, if you will. And so what we saw was an opportunity not to kind of leave what the company was behind, but rather to pull it forward into the future. And what I mean by that is we are strategically focused on the hybrid cloud / hybrid IT use case, where we recognize that companies are frankly at all different points in their journey, in this hybrid world, right? So we have customers that are very forward thinking in terms of evolution from a cloud perspective or an infrastructure perspective. We have others that are, at a slower pace, and there's others that are kind of in the middle. And frankly, we want to meet them where they are on that journey. So we've been able to, I think, successfully position ourselves as a hybrid provider in this ever-evolving world. And so IBM is a huge part of that. What I'll also say is that about 85% of our business today is actually the new part of the business. So really what we've grown in the last several years is really around the hybrid security, hybrid automation part of the business. So we definitely had a shift in the mix, but it's still a key part of the business for sure.
And just to clarify, when you say hybrid, you mean on-prem versus in cloud, a mix of both environments?
Absolutely, yeah. So for us, that would be a mix of on-prem / data center, private cloud, public cloud, virtualization, and kind of this whole mix of strategies that organizations are using. We're trying to be as agnostic as we can to that, just to really reflect what we're seeing out there in the world. I think by our research, probably 8 to 9 out of every 10 companies is running some form of a hybrid stack. And so we really want to meet them where they are on that journey.
Mm-hmm. Right. So rebranding, I guess to me, it's kind of obvious, like absolutely, you're going to bring in these new product lines. The company has this new focus on security. The name is decades old, referring to a business focused on a different type of product line. But yeah, what has the journey been like? Trying to come up with a new brand, trying to, I imagine you probably went through a lot of different options before picking Fortra.
Yeah, I think it's been a year-long journey, right? I think a rebrand is not just a rebrand. It's really a rethinking of a company's identity, its purpose, where it sees itself in the world, and where it thinks it's going to go forward, and in what direction and why. So you begin asking yourself all these existential questions, to kind of figure things out. And it's curious because you've been operating a successful business the whole time. But when a rebrand comes up, you find yourself taking this step back and really asking yourself, well, what is the right thing to do? And so it's interestingly less about the name itself and more the meaning behind it, which I think leads to the name. And so for us, it was, what do we want to stand for? What's really our purpose in this new world, and where do we think we can fit? And, we thought a lot about this. And we had a lot of different ideas for not just naming, but positioning and messaging and all the things, all that kind of infrastructure that goes into a rebrand. But ultimately, we landed on Fortra because for us, it symbolizes strength and defense and security, and really being more of a partner on this journey. We don't think that cybersecurity is something where you cross this kind of magical goal line and, like problems are solved. It's actually the opposite of that. You're consistently and constantly moving forward. And so, many of us have been, in previous roles, we've been buyers, right? We've been the customer on the other side of it. We asked ourselves, well, what's important here? What would be important for us as a buyer? Where would we put our money, our scarce resources? And so we tried to really bring that to life as much as we could. So the Fortra name to us really symbolizes this spirit of partnership, of being a trusted advisor, of being an organization that is bringing a greater sense of security and strength and stability to the world, because there's certainly a lack of that wherever you look at this point.
So some of the brands that you had were kind of like you kept the brand around, and it was so and so a help systems company. Has all that gone away? Are all the acquisitions you've done just all going to be Fortra, just different product lines under Fortra, or are there still going to be, like, for example, like maybe Digital Defense, a Fortra company, or Digital Guard, or any of those brands going to stick around?
Yeah. So the next step, it's going to be a process. It'll be probably, a bit of a detailed process as we work through, because we do recognize and we respect the fact that every team that's come to us with its brand and its culture, there is some value to that, both to the team itself and to the customers and to our partners as well. So what we're going to do as a next step is, whereas in the past it would have been, for example, Digital Guardian by Help Systems, what you'll see next is Fortra's Digital Guardian. And then in the future, as we evolve, and I'll stick with the Digital Guardian example for a moment, what you'll see is more of a focus on Fortra DLP. And so over time, we will increasingly put more focus on the solutions themselves. I think that's really what will ultimately be more valuable for the customers. But we also want to respect, the heritage of it and recognize that it is a process. So this is really the next step now. But over time, we will increasingly put more focus on the solutions we're creating, so that when customers are engaging with us, whether it's on the web or in print or through some other media, they know exactly what we're talking about without necessarily having to do further research, because some of them won't be familiar with all of our brand histories.
So John, I have a quick question for you. I love the roll-up strategy approach that Fortra is taking. It's similar to an approach that Palo Alto has taken in the past. It's similar to an approach that many, many large successful organizations have taken. To execute on that, however, you need a really great strategic vision into the future direction of the markets as a whole, in the sense that we believe cyber is being impacted by X, and we're going to put our time, dollars, resources, acquisition strategy behind that vision. Do you have a vision that you can articulate to us, or at least tell us where you think the future direction of cybersecurity is going, and where Fortra may say, hey, this is the future trends that we're chasing, that we're interested in?
Yeah. So for us, the strategic vision is to create a stronger, simpler future for cybersecurity by improving organization security maturity while simultaneously decreasing operational burden. What's interesting to us, as we have really been iterating on the strategy and refining it over the years, is that it's the problems that we hear about every day are problems, but sometimes they're symptomatic of something else. And so when we talk about improving security maturity, decreasing operational burden, it's a reflection of some of what we are seeing out in the market. We talk with customers, we do a lot of research. We have again, I'm a PM by training, so I have that mindset. I'm always trying to kind of peel back the layers to figure out what's really happening under the surface. It's easy to just focus on the threats and what's happening every day. And all of us, when we come into work in the morning, we open up our mailbox, and there's usually, a group of emails with the latest, crisis of the day. And sometimes it's, the worst thing, quote unquote, the worst thing that's happened, and until the next worst thing has happened. And then that adds to the list. But as we've talked with customers and really dug into it, one of the things we try to do is, when a customer or customers comes to us and says, hey, we need X solution, what we try to do is say, hey, that's a really interesting idea. Can you help us to understand what the core problem is that you're trying to solve? And the more we peel the layers back, what we're finding is that the core problem to solve for in cybersecurity across many segments of the market is actually complexity. And what I mean is this: is you look at the threat landscape, right? And we're all seeing these different statistics every day. I believe in 2021, NIST reported 20,000 new vulnerabilities, right? That's basically a new vulnerability published every 30 minutes of every day for an entire year. You look at ransomware, right? It's in 90% of all organizations today at one time or another. So you see your threats and your attacks are way up. We look at the analyst community, they're predicting another $100 billion in spend over and above what we're spending today. So somewhere in the order of $250 to $300 billion in annual spend on cybersecurity solutions in just 3 to 4 years from now. So we've got our attacks and our vulnerabilities and our costs up and to the right. What's not up and to the right is the number of people that are available, right? So you look at any of these, statistics regarding the resources that are out there. 3 million open cybersecurity roles around the world. You've got roughly 500,000 open in just North America alone. Okay. Now, think about how hard it is to hire just one qualified developer or IT person. It's really difficult. Yet somehow the industry believes it's going to hire 3 million skilled cybersecurity workers. And so there's this incredible gap that has been emerging. And what we have been asking ourselves is, why is the industry trying to hire 3 million people? And so we keep asking the why question. And as we dug into that part of it, and we talk to customers, we look at our own teams, we have our own security operations teams. What we see is enormous redundancy, enormous overhead, enormous inefficiency. Some of that is driven by the vendor landscape. Now, if you look at the vendor landscape, how many vendors are out in the world today offering some form of cybersecurity products, services, solutions? We think it's about 4,500. Yeah, it's thousands, right? I mean, it's multiple thousands. The numbers are extraordinary. So, and then what that is creating is enormous impact on the customers themselves. Because if you look at how the market has developed over the last 10 years or so, what do you see? Many, many, many more providers, many, many more point solutions. Okay. So how has the industry responded? We said, oh, well, we can, stitch them together. We'll write some scripts. We'll figure out ways to get products to interoperate or integrate. But it's missing a major part of the equation, which is that products are just one small part of it. Every vendor a customer signs up for is also signing up for that vendor's documentation, training, support, onboarding, configuration, customer success, operations, you name it. So the industry is buckling under the weight of exponential overhead. And this is where we are focused. So we've asked ourselves, what can we do to not just offer a best-in-class set of solutions? Because that is our goal. Whatever product categories we participate in, we want to be the best in the world at what we do. But how can we do that in a way where we're actually making it easier for the existing professionals that are out there to actually be successful? So in other words, if an organization couldn't hire one more person, what could we do to actually help them maximize the ability of a security operations team member to achieve what their objectives are? The way that we actually started putting this to the test was right here at Fortra. So within our own security operations team, who are fantastic, they've actually inventoried everything that they do on a daily basis. I mean, with incredibly granular detail. And then they kind of stack ranked it, and they said, all the stuff on the top, this is really, complex stuff. It's very thought intensive, experience intensive, strategically intensive. We need people to focus on this. But at the bottom of this list, there's a whole kind of grouping of stuff that's routine, repetitive, high volume. It frankly doesn't need somebody to focus on that. How can we best solve that? What we have done in response to that, and this is where the history of the company comes into play, we're actually pulling automation forward into this new world and saying, in order to improve security maturity, automation has to be a key part of that. Let's actually put that theory to the test in our own SOC. And I'm happy to share that we're actually having great success with it and figuring out how it works internally first, because that's really going to be a big part of really the vision and the strategy and bringing that to life in the future.
Yeah, no, I love the vision. You're going to love the keynote I gave at LasCon last week. Was that last week? Time runs funny for me now these days. But yeah, I touched on this a lot. I talked about how I've seen so many organizations where their idea of security is, employee one comes in, they sit down, they log into the WAF, they click some stuff, they log out, they go home. Employee two comes to work, logs into the SIM, clicks some stuff, logs out, goes home. Like it's just like the tools kind of become the job, and to some extent people lose sight of what it means to do security. What the actual goal, what the roadmap of the security organization is. and whether or not they're actually making any progress towards those goals. To your point about maturity, it's very easy to flatline where, yeah, you own a bunch of products and those products are great at generating work for your employees to do, but is any of that actually driving more, better risk decisions or more secure behavior in the organization? It's hard to tell sometimes.
It is difficult to tell. And I'll tell you an anecdote from some conversations I had not that long ago. So I was really interested to learn more from customers about zero trust and how they were looking at it and thinking about it. And this is, again, just part of our own learning. We listen to customers in the market as much as we can. We're constantly collecting data and insights. And so I rang up 6 different customers, and these are all different industries and what have you, and basically asked them, what was their familiarity with zero trust? How are they thinking about it? And I was actually amazed at what I heard back, right? A part of what I heard back was, we really don't know how to implement it, how to measure success. We're being told by our board that we have to do it, but we don't know what that means. I had one customer tell me that they had been asked by their board to make sure that the words zero trust were included in the security plan as much as possible. And so, that to me there's something amiss in that situation, because there's a lot of incredible technology out there, a lot of incredible ideas, but we have to apply. And this is part of how we are thinking about things here, right? Is how do you best apply the tools and technologies and processes and practices towards actually solving an important set of problems that achieves a set of objectives. And I think one of the things we see that's missing sometimes, and again, this is all part of, this is all kind of in the strategy mix here, is how do we best help organizations actually know what to focus on, right? It's not just, part of our strategy is breadth, right? We do want to cover data security and infrastructure protection and security awareness training and managed services, but how are we going to bring those pieces together to better help teams achieve their outcomes? And so there is no quick answer for it, right? You have to get it. And that's why we have a multi-year vision and a strategy to support that, because we're borrowing lessons from our own past, which is, think big, act small, but keep chipping away at this, moving in a forward direction, helping customers to get those better results along the way.
Yeah, certainly talking to customers, I think, helps. And something that's really helped me, because we have a SaaS product, we also have a tool that allows me to actually watch people during their sessions. And the cool thing is we've actually pulled out all the data. So it's literally just, I see the graphical outline of stuff, but there's no actual customer data in the sessions that I look at. But that's one of the things that shocked me. And in a previous role, I actually started a company, and one of the security services we provided is we would just go through people's products and see if they've set them up correctly, see if they were using them correctly, or getting the proper value out of their products. And we found in 100% of cases, things were misconfigured. They didn't properly understand what it did. They hadn't deployed it correctly. They weren't using it correctly. And there's all kinds of famous examples, like in Struts. One of the reasons they didn't find or in Equifax, one of the reasons they didn't find Struts in their environment is somebody ran a SaaS tool on the system that had the vulnerable Struts jar, but didn't use the recursive flag. They didn't put -R after the command that they sent, so they didn't search any of the directories beneath the current directory they were at. So yeah, I constantly see that over and over, and it's a great vision, but now you gotta execute on it, man. Now for the fun part, right?
Yeah, and I think we've been executing on it, right? And I want to make sure that we look at, especially for us, we're always reflecting on things. Step one was several years ago, all of us coming together over here and saying, here's where we are today. Where do we think we want to get to? And more specifically, where do we want to focus and where don't we want to focus? And so we very clearly said, here are areas in cybersecurity that we are not going to participate in for any variety of reasons. But here's where we think we can participate in and actually do something meaningful. We can make a dent. We can stand out. The next step from there was to actually get the raw materials. And so this ties into the M&A strategy, right? So we knew where we wanted to go, and the way to get there was to basically survey the market. Now, there's really only three ways you're going to grow as a company. You're going to buy, you're going to build, or you're going to partner. So we made a strategic decision as a company that anything that's core to that vision, right, to that value proposition, we were either going to buy or we're going to build. And the other kind of element that runs into this is you have to keep speed in your right in front of you, because markets do move fast, and markets that are growing move incredibly fast, and they're incredibly dynamic and fluid. And so what we asked ourselves is, basically, kind of came to a decision on was, if there's opportunity available from an acquisition perspective and it fits the vision and the strategy, we're going to go for it. We're going to go for it. And so we've been able to buy that part of realizing the vision and the strategy. But now we're moving into the build portion of it, because what we've learned, and again, from looking at the market, is there's a lot of great point solutions out there, a lot of really good best of breed products, but the platform element of things really hasn't been cracked yet. And yes, there are some platforms out there, and there's some good platforms out there, but for what we are aiming to accomplish, there's actually nothing that we have seen that we could go out and buy. So this is where the build part comes in. So really what we're doing together to help bring that to life is it's a combination of buy and build working together. So right now, what we're doing to really kind of push this to the next step is we have a platform team. So we actually have a dedicated platform team here at Fortra. That team's sole focus and responsibility, and where all their time goes, is on platform design. Basically stepping back, thinking about the skill shortage, thinking about the different use cases, thinking about all the different silos that are in cybersecurity today, and asking themselves a really difficult question of, how do we make that better? How do we transform that? What does that path look like? Because it's not really a different path than we've been on. It's really more of a continuation and an evolution of what we've been doing. But it's a really big nut to crack, but we are unbelievably excited about this. I mean, this is exactly what we're here to do. And frankly, I think we're kind of emboldened by what we've accomplished over the past 4 years. Not cocky, but confident. And we believe in our abilities to figure out tough problems and to keep pushing forward. And we're going to learn a lot on this journey, but we're absolutely committed to that platform journey as well. So then customers will get to work with us from both a product perspective and a platform perspective in the future. We're going to carve that up though, right? I mean, anybody that's ever worked on a platform knows they are notoriously complex, high risk of failure. I've worked on a couple in my career. And a number of us have here as well, but we're going down the path of that. And so we're going to kind of chunk it up and just step our way through it.
So for folks listening, they may still not really know what Fortra does, or maybe they don't remember all the acquisitions that Help Systems has done. So I thought it might be helpful to kind of step through the history of acquisitions and talk a bit about each of the brands, or at least each of the product categories that are now part of Fortra. Are you good with that? Can we do that?
Yeah, absolutely. I can step right through it. So,
well, I was thinking we could make it a bit of a game where I say the old brand name that's now going away, and we can say goodbye to the old brand name, and between the three of us, we can see if me, Katie, and Tyler can say what the company does. I thought it would make it a little bit more fun.
All right, sure. So what do you need me to do to help make this happen?
Well, if we don't get it, we need you to correct us when we get it wrong, or we can't remember.
Yeah. So am I giving you clues and see if you can guess the product?
I like that.
You can't. I've got a list of them, so I was just gonna say the name of the vendor and see if the three of us can recall what it does.
Are we allowed to Google? Can I Google?
If you did, I wouldn't know, right? Like,
all right, no camera on me, Gus. Keep the camera on the boss.
All right, so starting with core security, that's the correct starting point, right? Right, John?
Yeah, yes, in 2019, that was our first acquisition in 2019, correct?
All right, Tyler, Katie, core security. I can go.
Great question.
Pen testing tool. So they make an exploit framework, and they make a vulnerability management tool that can pull in vulnerabilities from other vulnerability scanners and map them to. They can also log into network infrastructure, and they can tell you all the different paths that attacks can take from the outside in. That kind of thing. How'd I do, John?
Adrian likes this game because he knows all the answers to everything.
I don't. I actually don't. I just happen to know this one well. We've worked a lot with Core Security here at Security Weekly, and before that, I've used their products. So,
yeah, no, you did great. I'll also add that Core Impact penetration testing tool now maps to MITRE ATT&CK framework as well. So that's another part of what we're doing over time is looking for some of the more common and commonly used frameworks to map some of the products to. So that's a more recent innovation, but no, you did great.
All right, the next one is ClearSwift, and I don't know anything about ClearSwift. Katie, Tyler?
ClearSwift is email security.
I said that, but I was on mute.
My Google was faster than your Google.
No, your mute button was just off.
Wait, did you Google? Did you cheat? I definitely cheated.
How do we do, John? Tyler. Email security?
Yep. So ClearSwift is email security, particularly businesses built around a secure email gateway, which is very widely in use today, especially with defense and government agencies. But I think Katie got that one.
Awesome. Adrian 1, Katie 1, Tyler 0. Or no, wait, Tyler got that one.
No, I got that.
Katie
faster.
was on mute.
Unmute fast enough.
I was on mute.
Okay, Cobalt Strike. Come on, guys. Cobalt Strike.
Wow, it's been a hot minute. Hold on.
Breach and attack simulation?
Close.
I want to see your hands, Tyler. I want to see your hands.
Cyber threat emulation.
Yeah,
that's because you Googled and then you showed your hand.
Yeah, take the simulation off. Yeah, there's no simulation with it though. It really does
Google,
the thing.
It says cyber threat emulation when you Google it.
Oh, threat emulation, yes, but not attack simulation.
No,
it's actually doing the. It's actually doing So I would think it pairs well with Core Impact because in addition to, I think it has somewhat of an exploit framework, but it's better known as like a command and control framework. So they have implants that you can install and stuff, and then kind of like Meterpreter and Metasploit, where you can. Kind of land and expand in an environment. So another pen testing tool. How do we do, John?
Yeah, Adrian, you got that one. What I'll add on that is, so Cobalt Strike is really adversary simulation, and it is a command and control framework, right? It uses beacon technology. It also is integrated with Core Impact. So the way that customers are often using both solutions is they'll use Core Impact to find an unpatched vulnerability or turn it into an exploit. That exploit can then be passed to Cobalt Strike, and Cobalt Strike can basically be used to determine how far can we take this exploit inside of an organization's infrastructure. So really powerful combination that a lot of our customers are using successfully together.
Adrian, I only know certain markets. You know that, right? Like I know AppSec, right. I know 2 or 3 markets. The other ones, I got nothing. I got to Google.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah, I'm going to start playing on Tyler's level if we're keeping score.
We need to speed up a little bit to get through these. Next one is Bolden James. I think I know this one.
What was this one? I didn't even hear it.
Bolden James. B-O, like bold.
Data classification and secure messaging.
Yeah, I didn't even know how to type that one.
Yeah. I was going to say e-discovery. I thought they did e-discovery.
Yeah. So 1 point to Katie on this one. So Bolden James and Titus were actually the number 1 and number 2 data classification products out in the market. We actually acquired them on the same day. And so basically classification is really about assigning a unique identity and or value to a document so that as a document moves throughout a system, whether it's through DLP or other data protection or management tools, it can be treated and managed appropriately. It can be secured. So for example, you might classify one document as restricted, maybe a very, very small group of people can have access to it or be able to move it around, while another one might be public, and that would obviously have a different set of policies and rules attached to it.
Okay, yeah, I knew Titus did that, but I didn't realize Bold and James did that as well.
Yeah, very cool.
Yeah, Bold and very, very pervasive outside of the U.S. So that was really what the strategic rationale was. Titus was really big in North America. Bold and James was very big in EMEA. Yep, and we brought them together.
Brilliant. I didn't realize they were both on the same day either. That's very cool acquisition.
Yeah.
Yep. That's our amazing M&A team.
Next one is Vera, and I do not recall what Vera does, but I am familiar with the name. I've forgotten by now, though.
Shall I give the team a moment?
A Fortra brand. Protects your sensitive files everywhere as they travel. Data security.
Encryption, data encryption.
Okay, so like employee-focused data security.
Yeah, so think of the category that we would call it digital rights management, which can be a little bit of a difficult term to work with. Really, what it is it's file level protection wherever the file goes. And what I mean by that is if you think about how data travels, organizations typically do a really nice job, or they're attempting to do, as good of a job as they can at securing and protecting data, as long as it's somehow under the organization's influence and control. But what happens when the file goes outside of that? So I'll give you an example of this. So one of our customers is a large manufacturer in the US. They create all their design files here in the US. They then transfer those design files to a manufacturing facility in the Asia Pacific region. And what was happening was somewhere along that transfer, the files were being intercepted and counterfeit goods were being created, manufactured, and delivered before the design files could actually make it to the appropriate manufacturing facility. This organization uses Vera to basically protect their design files in transit, so that even if, or maybe I should say when, those file transfers are interrupted and attacked, the file's still protected. The beautiful thing about it too is rights to that file are actually centrally administered by an administrator back here at the organization's headquarters in the US. So the administrator, regardless of where that file is, has complete availability and ability, I should say, to control access to the file, even when it's outside of the organization's domain, which is super cool.
All right, we're gonna have to do a lightning round here. I'm gonna fire through a few of these that I know off the top of my head, and then I'm gonna leave the rest that I don't know to Katie, Tyler, John, whoever knows the rest here.
Go straight with John for all of them. Let's hear his rapid response.
Okay, you good with that, John? But
yeah, sure. Let's do it.
It's got to be a short answer, though.
I'll make it quick, really quick.
All right, File Catalyst.
File Catalyst is file acceleration for large files, especially in the media and entertainment industry.
Digital Defense.
Digital Defense is vulnerability management, vulnerability assessment and management, and threat assessment as well.
Beyond Security.
Beyond Security is also vulnerability assessment and management, and we are bringing Beyond Security and Digital Defense together into a single VM solution.
And the way I think of it is Digital Defense is network scanning and Beyond Security is more AppSec, right?
Yeah, it's a good way to think of it.
Agari.
Agari is email security, including brand protection and phishing defense.
Speaking of phishing defense, Fish Labs.
Fish Labs is also phishing defense, one of the best in the world at takedowns. We bring Fish Labs and Agari together to not just take down phishing sites, but to also take down the offending infrastructure.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Digital Guardian.
Digital Guardian is data loss prevention, so rules and policies to protect how data flows according to organizational policy and to alert administrators when a policy has been violated.
Tripwire.
Tripwire is file integrity monitoring and configuration management. So basically determining what the known state for a set of digital files and system configurations are, and then identifying anomalies in those, which could be from nefarious actors.
Alert Logic.
Alert Logic is managed detection and response. So basically to help us address the skill shortage out in cybersecurity today, It is basically managed security services, which is focused on detection and remediation of threats in real time. Average time to detection and alerting the customer is 2 minutes and 19 seconds.
Terra Nova Security.
Security awareness training. So we cannot avoid or ignore the human-based element and challenges in security today. Terra Nova is specifically focused on security awareness training and phishing simulations. We know that phishing is probably the primary vector for successful attacks today. This specifically targets that and helps organizations improve their maturity in this area.
And finally, Outflank.
Okay, Outflank is a couple of things. Red Team Services. So Outflank has incredible experience in testing from a red teaming perspective, some of the most critical infrastructures in the world. Think power grids, nuclear facilities, things like that, as well as mission critical industries like finance and healthcare. And it also creates some software that we are going to be bringing together with Core Impact and Cobalt Strike for advanced penetration testing and red teaming.
And if for some strange reason you're just joining us and you're wondering why we're just naming all these random security brands, we're not naming random security brands. These are all part of Fortra. These are all acquisitions that Help Systems did before they rebranded as Fortra. And John, that was wonderful. I think we're all winners in that we now have a great understanding of everything that you're bringing together under the Fortra banner.
That was absolutely amazing, John. Really, it was. I'm super impressed that you're able to rattle all those off. If I had to keep that in my head, forget about it.
Well, he's lived through them. He knows them because he's lived through all these. Yeah.
19 so far.
Congrats, nice. Man. That's awesome.
All right, John, that's all we have time for today, but I think that was great. I personally, and I think I can speak for Tyler and Katie also, we have a great understanding of everything that you're doing over there at Help Systems, or at Fortra. It's going to take me a bit. Sorry.
All good. Ken, thank you everybody for your time. I really appreciate it today.
All right, make sure you visit securityweekly.com/Fortra to learn more. And stay tuned. When we come back, we're going to talk about the identity risks of robotic process automation with Alan Radford from One Identity.